Hello and welcome to the aForm Show, the premier podcast for all things architecture and design across the MENA region. Welcome to your tribe. Today's episode is supported by SkyStruct, the groundbreaking construction and project management solution that's absolutely turning heads in the industry. They are bringing together architects, engineers, project managers, procurement, and essentially any stakeholder onto one singular platform. Yes, clients are included. SkyStruct is genuinely changing the game. Its tailored modules for construction management, inventory, labor, cost management help streamline the chaos of construction projects. They are rolling out very soon in Dubai, but you as a listener can get in early. Drop us an email at hello@aform.studio and find out how SkyStruct is the future, and it is here today. Now, let's get into the episode. Hello everyone and welcome to the show. Today we are joined by a very special guest. Hanine Salman Abi Ali is an XR designer with DEWAN Architects and Engineers. She prides herself on bringing design from the physical into the digital realms. Hanine is a leading voice on all things VR, AR, MR, and everything else R within the architecture space. There is very much a lot to learn in this episode, so without further ado, let's get into it. Hanine, welcome to the show.
Hi, Alan. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, in the introduction, as you probably could tell, there were a lot of R's in what you do, a lot of realities. So, I guess my very first question is, and forgive my ignorance, but what is an XR designer? What is XR design to start with?
Yeah, actually, thank you for asking me this question because I get asked this a lot, obviously, especially in the architecture field. So to keep it simple, I'll try to break it down. So I'll try to start with XR first and what is XR, and then I'll move to the design part. So XR is short for extended reality, and extended reality includes all immersive technologies, including virtual reality, VR, augmented reality, AR, and mixed reality, MR. Now, an XR designer designs and creates immersive and interactive experiences for these immersive technologies. So we design visuals, user interfaces, and environments that users can interact with through devices like VR headsets, AR-enabled smartphones, or MR devices.
Okay.
So to sum it up, XR design is a creative blend between technology and design principles, particularly human-centered design, because of how personal XR solutions can be. Because you're not holding a mobile phone anymore. You're actually putting a headset, which is strong enough to make you think about reality in a different way. So our responsibility as an XR designer is to design intuitive and engaging digital worlds, and most importantly, solve problems through XR.
Okay. Sounds very good on paper. I follow you, right?
Yes.
Could you give me a kind of real world example? Like what would be the kind of work or project you would be doing, for example?
Yeah, definitely. Because, we hear XR a lot and, I'm against of putting XR everywhere. So XR should solve a problem. For example, when we are performing like dangerous situations, like in medical training, for example, surgeons can practice surgeries through VR, which is really amazing. Also, military training, and especially our field, architecture, where you can get to give the client a VR walkthrough. They can experience the space in real time with the designer and be able to discuss, things that they find, not as they want, let's say, and we can solve this before we even start construction. So here we're solving a problem that we can't solve elsewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm assuming this is an environment which is editable on the go, meaning if you were, again, just because, architect by default, I'm thinking, buildings and, infrastructure that you can walk through and, things of that nature. So I'm assuming you could build live editable environments and kind of change materials on the fly and edit on the fly, that kind of thing?
Definitely. And we are doing this already with Unreal Engine, where we can, we bring in our 3D models, we give them materials, and we are using blueprints, which are like visual scripting in the game engine, where we can customize like certain materials for a specific wall or a specific floor. And we can give the user the options to flip it between them so they can better choose what they want in real time. So it makes sense all in 3D.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. That's okay. So I kind of understand now what it is.
I'm glad.
I don't want to ask because, I mean, this is a question which we have brought on a couple of occasions with a few of our other guests. And the kind of feedback that we have received from most clients who go through this experience, it seems that a lot of clients are still not up for it, so to speak, especially if it's their first time ever sort of, looking at anything VR, for example. There are things of, the headset's a bit weird. I don't feel comfortable, or, I feel a bit dizzy after using it the first time. And obviously the much younger clients are a lot more, open to it. But
and excited to try it as well.
Exactly. So from your sort of experience, how are you finding clients responding to what you do? I mean, is there a general sense of excitement about it, or are they still kind of on the fence?
Actually, it depends on the clients. And to be honest, you find the new generations are more excited about this technology in particular, maybe because of the maturity of the hardware now, because, the old VR headsets were really heavy.
Yeah.
And even now they're causing motion sickness because people are not used to this, and it can even cause headaches sometimes.
Right.
So for now, I'm not surprised with the feedback, but I'm betting on the maturity of hardware, in the future, where it can be light and easy to use and more accessible, just like our mobile phone. Then maybe clients will be more open to that, right, and will be willing to try it, of course.
Makes sense. I kind of then want to ask you, I think it was, I can't remember where you posted this, but I remember seeing it and thinking, that is insane. I think it was, I want to say it was an Unreal Engine, or it was
I remember.
Something with
Cesium.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Could you tell us more about that?
Actually, Cesium, I've recently discovered Cesium, and it was really, it amazed me because I could, it's a simple plugin where I was able to bring Google Earth into Unreal Engine, the whole globe. And you can just put the IP addresses of the location and, longitude and latitude, and you'll jump in the location on the spot in real time.
And it
in the engine.
And it would bring all the data that Google Earth has. So even
exactly.
Topographies and heights and so on.
Yes, it relies on Google Earth and what it has, of course. But it's really amazing for us as architects,
Okay.
The context is there. You just have to plug in the building, which is very doable in Unreal Engine. You just import the model into the location straight away.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So I feel like I have to ask you, anything else that you've come across which our listeners might benefit from?
Actually, I'm experimenting with a lot of things. I'm particularly interested in digital twins as well. And I'm trying to find intersections between architecture, BIM, digital twins, and the metaverse, obviously.
Yeah.
And also XR within our architecture field particularly. But the thing is that it's still, we're still in the baby steps, let's say, because of the nature of XR and because of the nature of our large base models as architects.
Yeah.
And this takes a lot of time to optimize, to, kickstart this. So that's the thing. With all my experimentation, this is what I've reached recently. And I'm trying to find solutions for that.
Okay.
Because if we solve that issue, then we can do other stuff that are interactive and that are more fun. And recently, I've been checking Autodesk. They've been working on that with Workshop XR. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Haven't.
But it's amazing what they've announced. You can just have your team jump into the model, and it's linked to the, I think it was Revit or Navisworks, where you can, pinpoint clashes in VR with your whole team. So it was amazing, to be honest. And I think they were able to solve the optimization problem with our models particularly. So I can't wait to test it, and I'll let you know.
Awesome. I mean, I'm all for that. I mean, personally, I would much rather want to do something like that in VR than,
on a screen.
On a screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a PDF.
Yeah,
wow,
that's not fun.
I sound like a dinosaur when I say PDF now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. So you mentioned digital twins, and I just want to, again, fact check for myself because, I'm quite ignorant in this topic. But hypothetically, as an architect, I make BIM models, which are, Revit, ArchiCAD, whatever it is, but a BIM model, fairly high level of LOD, so to speak. And then, of course, there are other consultants that kind of, plug in with the IFCs and things like that. And, happy days, everything's coordinated. Is that considered a digital twin?
Definitely not.
Not, right?
Definitely not.
That's what I want to ask, because like in my mind, I'm theoretically creating a twin of what is going to be built. So isn't it the same thing's being built? So that I'm glad you said no, because I don't want to sound silly. But then what is the difference?
The difference is that digital twins, they have like a structure where data is stored and how you can reach data through digital twins. And speaking of that, Autodesk, they're developing Tandem, which helps you create digital twins actually from BIM models. So they can kind of restructure the data and where to find what. And potentially this model can be integrated with IoT devices and sensors that can help you predict information about the model itself. And that clients can potentially use and, monetize, unlike the BIM model you're speaking about, because right. It's kind of not, it's kind of messy based on how we do it,
Right.
So we're still exploring that. I'm not a digital twin expert, obviously, but this is what I know so far about that.
Right.
And I hope we can get to know more about it and to experiment particularly with Tandem to see what we can potentially get as a result.
Gotcha. I mean, Autodesk seems on top of it. Hey, you guys want to sponsor an episode? I'm all for that. Let's launch Tandem together. No, I'm kidding. No, but you bring up a good point, which is in all honesty, you need someone like an Autodesk to be pushing that boundary.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. They're doing a great job anyways.
Because if they didn't particularly care about it, without the tech, how do we really get there, right?
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah, makes sense. So speaking about digital twins and other buzzwords in our industry, there's one that seems to have died off, which we spoke about briefly, but I want to get your take on it. A couple of, maybe even months back, right? Like months back, last year for sure.
Yes.
The metaverse was, the next big thing, which we all need to get on and so on and so forth. And to be honest, I am kind of still a believer
I'm glad.
In the overall sort of concept, right? Because, again, I've seen Ready Player One. I see that happening for sure. So I kind of get it, right? But then the realities of, many, many constraints. I won't get into that. But I kind of want to get from you, what is the state of the metaverse? Are we still interested in it? Do we care? Do we not care? What's happening?
Okay. Honestly, thank you for asking this question. Because, as a metaverse architect previously, I've been asked this a lot, and I've been hearing it's just a buzzword, it's a hype, the metaverse is dead, and so on. And there's a misconception there, Remember back in the days when the internet came out and people were skeptical about it because of the clunky interfaces, the slow connection, and the technical limitations that they had back then. But nowadays, we can't live without the internet, can you?
Nope, I cannot.
I get lost. So...
Yeah, I wouldn't find, I wouldn't be able to use maps. I wouldn't be able to,
nothing really.
to communicate.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's the same with the metaverse now. It's full of potential, but it's still rough around the edges. And to be clear here, the metaverse isn't dead and wouldn't be dead anytime soon. It's just that the development and the adoption of the metaverse has gone more gradual and less hype than initially anticipated. Remember in 2021, when companies like Meta, they announced their investment and their excitement about the metaverse, and they will build, metaverse worlds and so on.
The entire rebrand from Facebook to Meta.
To Meta, exactly.
Was a thing, yeah.
And then suddenly the whole thing faded out. But why? Because of the challenges they've been facing while experimenting with that, including technical limitations, user engagement issues, unclear economic roles, and privacy concerns as well. But at the same time, you see other companies, they're still pushing their metaverse projects. And we're seeing this more with AI, because potentially the metaverse will be built on AI. We're seeing this with XR design, with gaming companies, with virtual real estate, with remote work, and also education systems that are changing now. So all of these combined will push the metaverse through. And I think that the metaverse now is more in a phase of measured progress rather than a disappearance, let's say. And I truly believe that it will be an essential part of our digital future. And it will happen to us, just like the internet, when we potentially solve these technical limitations that we are facing now.
Right.
I hope I cleared this out.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Because that was, everything that you spoke about, they were real life constraints for a lot of even, designers, not even, people who wanted to experience it.
Yeah.
But having said that, I remember having a conversation with Drew Gilbert, who is...
Yeah, I know Drew.
Yeah, who is, kind of everything metaverse.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying at the time, I forget which one it was, but there was a couple of metaverses. I want to say it was I0 or something like that. I can't recall. But he said that was, again, based on kind of an Unreal Engine format, but photorealistic in real time. And he's like, people just don't know about it or haven't found it yet or, haven't explored it yet, but they already exist. And it's just a matter of it reaching kind of the masses, so to speak. But I suppose my kind of follow-up question then for that is, should designers, because obviously this is a design podcast, should designers be, I suppose, using this time to upskill themselves to be able to use the metaverse or figure out a skill or learn something that will help them for that? Is this now the time that they should do that?
Definitely. And this is what I did myself. And I find that there are a lot of skills that we can learn to prepare for that phase, let's say. And one of these skills is to gain knowledge about game engines in general and how we can use it in our architecture field, get insights about XR, these and AI as well. So all of these technologies will help in building the metaverse and will help us in our architecture field as well.
Okay.
So because we know the importance of AI in our field, we can see it already. Also XR and skilling in that sense will help us do these things faster.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. So if I may ask, in today's time, which is, almost mid-2024, right?
Yeah.
Almost mid-2024. What is your kind of design workflow at the moment? Meaning you've received a project, whichever project it may be, something architecture. How do you kind of start? Where do you then shift ideas into? How do you then mold them? Because I'm assuming for someone like myself, it's still quite analog. It's still kind of like sketch paper, PDF, and BIM is kind of like where it stops,
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that workflow is kind of different for someone like yourself.
Yeah.
So how is that?
I'm not really plugged into the production in architecture, given my position. But something interesting that I'm doing now, speaking of workflows, is regarding AI. I know your question is a bit different than what I'll be saying now, but technically we are using AI in the early design phases, particularly Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and Control Net. So rather than sketching, we're generating images in the early design stages, and we're being able to control these images that we are getting from Midjourney using Stable Diffusion and Control Net to get the results we want. And then,
Sorry, how is it that they work together exactly?
So you generate the image in Midjourney,
right.
Then you import this image or you upload it in Stable Diffusion, which has Control Net as a plugin in it that can help you control this generated image to tweak it, however you like or however fits the design.
Understood.
So this is helping us create mood boards or, in the concept phase where we can flip between different facade options, for example. And then from there, you go on to production and, the stuff that I'm not personally interested in. And then you go to, between DDD and BIM and then, delivery, structure, so on.
Right. I think, again, you've touched upon an interesting point wherein do you think, because again, we're kind of limiting ourselves, I suppose, to, architecture, design, interiors, etc. But do you think this has, the whole XR sort of field, does it have an impact on engineering as well?
Definitely.
Of how a structural engineer would think of a towered structural system or how a road engineer would think about, I suppose, how roads are put together and, things like that. Do you think it impacts them as well?
Definitely, because XR can integrate with, all our industry, construction, architecture, everything. And we can do simulations in real time, whether it's for engineers, architects, urban developments, whatever we want, really.
Right.
So we can do simulations on the spot and we can walk through anything we want. It's just reliable and dependent on how much we can put into the headset to stream it.
Yeah.
This is what I spoke about before. So it's the optimization thing for us. It's not the
interesting
whether we can or not.
I can't help but think, the movie Inception, when she kind of like, the architect character kind of figures out the world for the first time and weird things start happening.
I love that movie.
I can't help but think architects are going to become like that. Be like, all right, I just want a bridge here and a step here. And
that would be fun.
Yeah. And a bit scary, but fun. A lot more fun too.
Yeah. Let's just go with the flow.
Yeah. I agree. So I guess my kind of follow-up question now is people listening, and to be honest, myself, right? This sounds very interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would like to learn more about or explore XR design and how I can integrate it into my workflow, right? So for the designer listening to us right now, where would you kind of point them to, say, start exploring with this and maybe, try this and try that? What would be the thing that you point at?
Okay, you mean in terms of tools or just the workflow itself? Or
tools, workflow, learning, information, anything.
Okay, for me, it was a bit different because I chose to take courses. But as I took courses, I discovered that it's all about practice and experimenting on your own.
Right.
You find a lot of YouTube videos, out there, Udemy maybe, that does a lot of things on the XR field. So if you're really interested, you'll find a way to learn it, right? Because of how many of the nature of information, and it's all open nowadays. You can find really anything you want. And as an early step for us to start, XR design, I would say try Shapes XR, which helps prototype on the fly with 3D models that we already create as architects, where you can import OBJ files, GLTF or FBX files into the headset, and you can create your own world in the VR headset. So it's kind of a kickstart for this. I would also advise on looking for 3D user experience design, because it's totally different than user experience design as in UI UX, because you're not designing for a 2D screen anymore. You're designing for a 360 environment. You're not bounded by the width and length of the screen.
Right.
You're more open and it's more free. And this has its own rules, because of our field of view, our depth of field, all of that.
Makes sense. And I can, that can definitely be incorporated into your workflow for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Another, just before we kind of leave the topic, I'm also interested in, right now we're still talking about, how you can design per se, but I think it was a week or a couple of weeks back, I saw this AI generated video from Sora. I want to say, that was pretty wild.
Yeah, so. That was wow, actually. I'm wowed till now, to be honest, but I haven't had the chance to try it yet.
Right.
Yeah.
So, with that kind of fidelity and that level of detail and things like that, do you think it's possible for designers to kind of, I suppose my question is, will we even need design tools like BIM and things like that? If we can just kind of prompt everything with the right code and the right restrictions, could we technically just use these guys instead and be like, we don't need this anymore?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I would say that, of course, AI will affect our workflows and it will potentially displace many jobs, particularly when it comes to automating stuff, for example, in architecture, documentation, and, other tedious tasks. But I think the human element should stay. It should stay. It may be replaced maybe with things like Sora, but I think we should use Sora as an inspiration, because for now we still can't edit it maybe or tweak it the way we want, but we can get inspired by it and we can use it in our designs, for example, or combine it with other stuff. But I think we still, need human beings. And I think particularly, and regardless of the tools we are seeing out there, whether Sora, Midjourney, or other tools, the thing is that the AI will help us solve capacity problem, because we're loaded, especially in our industry. We're not being able to take more projects, and I hope that AI will let us take more projects and deliver in less time. So I know that it will displace some jobs, but it will free us as architects and designers for more design and research work and more strategic work, let's say. Rather than, spending endless hours documenting drawings, we can do other beneficial stuff. So this is how I think it will happen, to be honest.
No, makes sense. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone's more than happy for the kind of mundane tasks to be automated for sure. I mean, why not? I mean, I would much rather want to spend more time, sketching and designing something, for example, as compared to doing, like a random
dimensions or detailing. Oh my God.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love detailing, but to spend hours and hours
I'm not a fan.
Doing it for weeks at a time, probably not. Right. So I get that. Another question I have kind of related to the topic, so to speak. Again, this might just be my ignorance and my old schoolness. It feels so weird to say because I'm not really old school, but my old schoolness. When looking at things like Midjourney, right? And looking at, how, for example, you can have AI plugins into your, kind of workflow and so on. Is it fair to say that as an architect, designer, whatever you may be in this field, do you now need to know a certain level or understanding of coding and scripting as part of your skill set? Is that now necessary for you?
I wouldn't say it's necessary because, AI tools are helping us script. But what I would say is that it's really important to know how to read code. Right. If you know how to read code and you understand code, regardless if you can script or not, you can ask ChatGPT to write you a code and you can be able to tweak it to your, own benefit, I would say. Because, AI tools are being able to give us code, but it's in our hands to tweak it, whether we can or not. And particularly with text-based AI tools, it's not about scripting, it's about understanding the tool and knowing when and where to use it and how to use it as well. Because I've noticed in these tools, you're as powerful as your text prompt. So if you know how to prompt really well, like including a subject, a setting, a detail, surrounding, environment, then you can potentially reach what you want to see in a design. So this is what we are at DEWAN. We're practicing this. Now we're practicing how to write our prompts. And we recently launched like a task force inside DEWAN dedicated for research and development for AI tools. So we're trying to explore these tools, test them and evaluate them to see how and where to plug them into our workflows. So this is the trick here. I think that we should really understand what the AI tool is trying to help us with.
Yeah. Actually, I think this actually reminds me of a very vital conversation I had, which is, I can't remember who I was speaking to, but the topic was about, if we're all kind of going to be in this world of, prompted Midjourney images and so on, technically, won't we all end up with kind of the same thing because we're all kind of looking after the same thing? But then what I was told was that the individual architectural style, so to speak, or, your design taste, or, someone who looks at something and says, that must be designed by so-and-so. That sort of feeling, aesthetic, is actually what will be translated via your prompts. And because the way that at a high level, of course, I'm sure we're all the same, but the minute it becomes more detailed, where you start going into, I want, this kind of camera lens with this focal length at this height from this angle with this sun, with this, et cetera, et cetera. And the more you kind of layer it and make it your own, that is then what will differentiate something which a good designer would do or a bad designer would do. And that is how it would kind of, bring back quality, so to speak. Because the whole thing about this automated thing is that everyone feels like, it must be easy. Everyone will do it.
Everyone can do it,
and we'll all get the same stuff. But that's my understanding of it. Is that correct?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. And it depends on how much we know.
Right.
Like we know, architectural styles. We can refer to architects, star architects, or whatever it is, Zaha Hadid, and the rest. And also to photography styles, and as you mentioned. So whether you want it black and white or, full of colors. So it depends also on how much you feed it and how much you know.
Right.
And how good of a designer you are. Right. So I totally agree with you.
Okay. All right. Just just so that, I'm kind of clear in my mind, I can see this becoming, can prompts become like pages of things? Because I can see myself kind of, thinking about, but I'd want, this kind of photography, and I'd want this kind of, light quality, and I'd want this kind of,
Render engine.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
So you can specify also, I want it rendered in Unreal or in 3D Max or Octane render or, Cinema 4D, and it will give you like many options. And they're constantly, I'm following up Midjourney, so they're constantly updating their prompts and adding new like functionalities, if I may say, or it's like you can really specify what you want and to reach what you really want to see. Like, for example, they added something like dash weird or something like that, which can help you like
I love it.
It's like the movie Inception, literally. So it's really weird. It's fully messed up.
Right.
So yeah, they're constantly adding these fun stuff, I would say, but they're helping us. They're helping us as architects. And I hope that they can help us to be able to generate an image from different sites. If you know what I mean, like a full-fledged project.
Yeah. Makes sense. It is very promising, right? How can you not be excited about it? Right?
I can't myself. I'm really a big fan of AI. Right. I can't wait for it to happen.
Right. So I suppose at this juncture in the episode, as we kind of wind down, I always like to, kind of like a cliche thing now everyone knows, I like looking forward.
Okay.
Which is, in this particular case, I don't know what forward is. For someone like yourself, you obviously know the industry and you know kind of what's maybe on the horizon and what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose the question quite simply is, what is that? What are you seeing coming over the horizon which will kind of, make things a lot better or be a game changer perhaps, or, have an incremental improvement somewhere? Anything like that interests you?
Yeah, actually there are plenty. I'm really ambitious.
All right, let's list them all.
Yeah, exactly. And what I'd love to see in the future, I'd love to see more AI workflows integrated in our industry, potentially, to free us up because we're really loaded as architects. Also, I would love to see more XR stuff in the industry because, as you mentioned, clients are not really big fans of this because of the nature of the wearables. So this brings me to the next point. I would love to see more advanced XR wearables, more lightweight wearables, and more cheap wearables. Not the Apple Vision Pro level. That's for sure. So that makes it more accessible to people, like just a mobile phone or stuff like that.
Yeah, realistically, the way that I see it is, I know Apple already had the Vision Pro, but hypothetically, like it should be as simple as when you go to buy a new iPhone, just like how you'd get an accessory like an AirPods, you'd get this wearable.
Exactly.
At kind of the same price point, more or less, I would think. But yeah, I think something of that scale would make it a lot more attainable, reachable for people.
Yeah, it will be more accessible and it will definitely bring us to the immersive experience we're looking to have. Because if you can afford and buy this wearable, you would use it, no?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm betting on in the future. Also, I would love to see more, remote collaboration, let's say, within our teams. So we can, as I mentioned before, we can jump into a VR meeting and be able to assess a model regardless of where we are.
Right.
And this will really, be of a massive help to let people join together and pinpoint and spot issues on the fly.
Gotcha.
Because I'm not seeing it alone. I have a team that's seeing it with me, and it's like a real collaboration, let's say. Also, I would love to see more advancement when it comes to smart augmentation in construction. And by that, I'm really ambitious, but it's like something like overlaying building information models on site. Okay. So you can overlay a digital plan on a physical site. Okay. Where you can see how accurate it is and, try to find mismatch between the actual and the build, or the planned and the build, let's say. Right. So by overlaying this, you can save a lot of problems that may happen on site. Yeah. And potentially, I would love to see training on this for site workers
I think I mean, again, forgive my ignorance, but I think I saw something a while back, which was, it wasn't a wearable, but it was kind of like this QR code that had to be scanned on one of these columns or something.
It's AR.
That's AR.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So you can just scan the QR code, and on your mobile, you can just see stuff.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't really experience it per se, I suppose.
Yeah. But I would love to see it more, to be honest, on site.
All right. Contractors, we have some additional site requirements that need to be present in the site office moving forward. No, Hanine, this episode's been a lot of fun. I always love these topics because it's so enriching to think about what could be, right?
Yeah.
And, I think at the end of the day, we're all creatives and we're all kind of excited about the possibility of what could be. And I think this episode shows that there is a lot that could be.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of potentially.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see like a change in our industry, because our industry is creative and supposed to be fun.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
Let's see.
All right. Fingers crossed, man. we're like waiting for it. So, Hanine, as a closing tradition on the episode, we have something called the aForm tradition.
Cool.
It's essentially a question that's asked by a previous guest for the next guest, not knowing who they are. You don't know who the previous guest is. They don't know who you are, etc. So it becomes kind of weird at times, and it becomes kind of fun at times. So, and again, don't have to answer this. It's all good. I'm just going to pull up your question for today, and it is kind of relevant.
Okay.
Kind of relevant for anyone living in Dubai.
Okay.
So the question is, I mean, this is kind of going to date us a little bit, but I'll ask it nonetheless. The question is, this person's phrased it funny, but I'll just ask nonetheless. So the question is, it rained in Dubai. It flooded.
Okay.
As an architect / designer, is there anything you would want to do to prevent this in the future?
Well, I mean, that's more of an infrastructure question. But, for me, to be honest, I'd rather live in a virtual environment, not in reality, to be honest.
Yeah, we don't need this
to solve these problems.
We don't need this natural weather.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's fine. But I really think that, infrastructure should be maybe potentially with digital twins, as I mentioned before. We can predict these problems and potentially solve them beforehand.
Yeah.
So I hope that we can, through this technology, whether it's digital twins or other technology, we can predict these things before they even happen and be able to solve them.
Yeah. Makes sense, because again, at the kind of rate that we're going at, again, with the kind of computing power aside, but just by the visual sort of improvements that we can do with these twins. I mean, it is, at the end of the day, these things also need to be presented to key decision makers and stakeholders who may not necessarily be, the technical people. But I think at the pace that we're going is we can actually have presentable data which are easily digestible, so people can be like, all right, fine, I get it. Now we can action something based on that.
Yeah.
Which, I can't wait for digital twins to make that happen. Sounds possible.
Me too.
Yeah. So on that note, Hanine, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, it's always fun to get, a new take on something which clearly I have no idea of. But I promise.
Only you, by the way.
But I promise I will keep learning. Keep learning.
Yeah, thank you.
And for the rest of you guys, I hope this episode enlightened you a little bit. And if it did, please join us next week for our next episode. On that note, Hanine, thank you very much for joining us. We will definitely have you on again in the future.
Thank you, Alan.
All right. And for the rest of you guys, we will catch you guys next week.
Fellow aFormer, thank you so much for your time. If this episode added any value to you, please share it with anyone who may benefit. If you want to carry on the discussion, please get in touch with us over socials. We are at aForm Show on the gram and hello@aForm.studio on email. That is at aForm Show on the gram and hello@aForm.studio on email. Until next time, stay inspired.